Greetings, Sci-Clopians. Welcome to Sci-Clops Podcast 18. And my name is Dan.
And I'm Tom.
And this is brought to you by H.P. Lovecraft's short story, The Crawling Chaos. That sounds pretty scary.
Nah, nothing that crawls.
Nothing that
comes
crawls
out of the things can be possibly scary.
We're going to go straight over to Tom, as we always do, with comics, right?
Yep.
Loads
I
of
got
comics
again,
tonight.
2 from DC, 2 from Marvel. I'll start off with the finale to Justice League vs. Suicide Squad.
Awesome.
Like I said, I was a little surprised they did it on a weekly basis, but it worked. It kind of advances things along without interfering too much in the main storylines. All in all, I thought it was actually a pretty satisfying wrap-up. We had the Justice League possessed by the bad guy facing off against Batman's ragtag makeshift
Cool.
team of Lobo and Deadshot and a couple other guys he strung together to face the Justice League down. Really big climactic battle between the Suicide Squad, the League, and the main villain, Eclipso. And I was a little surprised it ended the way it did. I thought a lot more people were going to wind up dead than did.
With that kind of fight?
Yeah. But surprisingly, they actually... This looks like it's going to branch off and have some longer-lasting ramifications than just being a kind of a one-off fun event. Several villains make their escapes. Several people who aren't necessarily villains but were wronged by Waller make their escape. Lobo gets basically tricked into working with the new Justice League. He kind of gets snookered into it by Batman.
Okay.
So it sets up a lot of new things going forward. And I thought, it was good. It was a fun story that wrapped up pretty quickly because it was weekly, but it definitely was worth going on your time to read. And that kind of segues into my next comic, which is just plain old Suicide Squad, issue number 10. And this issue is kind of dealing with some of those ramifications that came out of the Justice League vs. Suicide Squad event. Rustam, who is a character in the Suicide Squad vs. Justice League event, has a pretty big personal beef with Amanda Waller and decides he's gonna make it his personal mission to make her life a living hell. And there was kind of a panel teasing that in the last issue of Justice League vs. Suicide Squad, and this issue picks up pretty much right after that. And really, we see the Suicide Squad from the outside perspective of some normal people. And it's kind of funny because, you get used to the Suicide Squad being the Suicide Squad doing weird stuff on a regular basis, but you're seeing it from the point of view of some civilians who are just like, what? Why? What is going on here? What this cannot be
Why are
real.
you trashing our city for the 20th time this month?
So I don't want to go into too much detail about how exactly those civilians get involved in the storyline and all, but it's actually pretty interesting, and I do, like I said, I like it that Justice League vs. Suicide Squad wasn't this one-off thing just for fun. It's going to have some long-lasting, reaching effects.
That's really interesting what you said here. I don't know what's going to happen because I'm not reading this particular storyline, but I have always wondered, like, what happens? The civilians are just standing there watching everything get trashed and people getting killed and cars flying through the air, and sooner or later someone's going to get pissed off and say, I want something done. I don't know if that's what's happening here. Don't tell me anything because we don't want to ruin it, but you wonder that's partly what that whole Powerless is about.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
But now they're adding it.
Could you imagine living in Gotham City? You're like just walking down the street and Killer Croc or
Can you imagine
Mr.
being
Freeze.
an insurance adjuster in Gotham City and thinking, my God, my day's going to suck. Happy Monday. They just got into another fight over the weekend.
What building is going to explode today?
I gotta handle that claim.
Well, that's my 2 for the DC side of things.
DC.
Now on to Marvel. I'll start off with another something versus something with Inhumans vs. X-Men. This one is not weekly. I think this one's either bi-weekly or monthly. I'm pretty sure monthly even. Maybe not monthly, bi-weekly. But anyway, we're now in the 3rd of 6 issue. And last time, the X-Men had severely trounced the Inhumans.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a beating on the scale of watching Tyson fight a teddy bear. It was just like, wow, that was bad. And like I said at the end of that review, I'm like, well, something tells me this is going a little too easy for the X-Men. The Inhumans are going to rally at some point and make a comeback, and that's where we start to see this here in this issue, is some of the Inhumans that the X-Men didn't really deem a threat worth taking out in the initial wave kind of make a comeback and start to lay the foundation for an Inhuman counterattack. It's nice to see because it's interesting because with the whole Terrigen clouds going around the planet, anybody with Inhuman DNA is getting turned into basically a superhero.
Yeah.
You get superpowers. So the X-Men obviously don't keep track of every single person who gets turned into an Inhuman. You know, they know about the big ones like Black Bolt, Karnak, Gorgon, Medusa. You know, those are the big heavy hitters they want to get off the board immediately. But, you know, they don't know about ISO or Naha or, you know, Inferno, who are some of the Inhumans who they're going to have to deal with now. So like I said, the Inhumans starting to make their comeback, and it ends on a pretty, really horrific note of something happened to one of the characters, and it looks like the Inhumans they're getting ready. They're staging the next counterattack. So I'll definitely be looking forward to the 4th issue.
Okay.
And the other one is nothing to do with any of this. It was just fun. Thanos, number 3.
Thanos,
the Mad Titan. I'm actually surprised at how much mileage they're getting out of this series. Because I really thought it was just going to be Thanos, you know, plotting to conquer and kill everything and yada yada. You know, he's going to wander around and blow stuff up, and that's pretty much going to be all there is to it.
Okay.
But really, Thanos is obviously the prominent character, being it's his theories, but we're also seeing a lot of characters who are related to Thanos in some way, like his brother's a character, or, you know, someone who's like... I forget the champion's name, but who's been around long enough to see the atrocities that Thanos has committed, you know, the planets he's destroyed, and really you kind of get the sense of what it's actually like to live out there in the cosmic portion of the Marvel universe with that thing, just wandering around blowing stuff up. And this issue, they did a really cool thing. It was almost like watching an episode of Cops, where they have people, like, it looks like they're interviewing into a camera.
Yeah.
You meet one guy he went to elementary school with who said for a while he was just a nice, normal kid, and then he just turned into this murdering psychopath. You meet...
which is always the way it ends up, isn't it?
Then you meet a medical ship pilot who responded to planets that Thanos has just destroyed and leveled, and it was a fun, like, interspersed throughout the story. They did a couple of those, and it's fun. It's a way to keep it fresh without it just being Thanos wandering around,
original. That's really
murdering,
cool.
You know, death and destruction. And the rest of the issue is Thanos fighting the Shi'ar War Guard. And ordinarily, Thanos being Thanos, he would trounce them like he's just, you know, Thanos. He'd kill them and move on to his next thing.
Okay.
But he's sick. He's dying. And so now, enemies who Thanos would normally just brush off and smack around like they were, you know, rag dolls, are able to put up a fight. And another fun Shi'ar character with some history with the X-Men, that's all I'll say on that, shows up right there at the end for a big final smackdown. And it was an interesting twist they went with at the end that kind of almost sets Thanos back to where he started at the beginning of this series. But like I said, I'm surprised at how much mileage they're getting out of, you know, I mean, we're only 3 issues in, so we'll see how they go with it in the long run. But it's definitely looking like they've thought of ways to keep this series interesting and not just being Thanos wandering around, blowing stuff up, and getting real old real quick. But, I mean, that's Jeff Lemire for you. The guy's a freaking genius. But that is all I have for comics, but I think you have some stuff this week, too.
I'm finally catching up at last. And you picked up for me, thank you, Conan the Slayer, number 6, where Conan, now we've gotten out of the first 5 issues were their own little mini adventure where we had talked about here, where they wound up in the end at the spooky keep.
Which
Nothing
was
like
great.
a rundown spooky keep. And you're reading this now, too,
something
right? So
straight out of
love it.
Robert E. Howard.
It's like what good ever comes out of a rundown spooky
Let's
keep?
go to the swamp and the castle, guys!
So, if you're walking through the woods and you come out and there's a spooky, broken down keep surrounded by a swamp, keep walking. Just keep going. In fact, run. So in this case, they got away. One of the minor heroes in the story was killed in the adventure, and so in this particular issue, they open up with Conan's kind of bummed because he was supposed to protect the guy, and the guy wasn't listening, and of course he did something stupid and got himself killed, and the sister's angry. So it's Conan and the Cossacks, and they're kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do, and Conan is brooding, but what he doesn't know is that the Turanians under King Yezdegerd, who we see through the Conan series, the main novels, he's in here too, have one of the I don't know what the word is. I want to say satraps or one of the local regional princes has been given the task of getting rid of the Cossacks, and of course he's not doing such a good job of it. So he finally
Which they
decides,
never do.
they get together and they say, hey, you know what? His advisor, who is some kind of evil magic user, who is going to try to take this guy's place later, he says, hey, they've lost a whole bunch of people. He knows somehow he got word that they had suffered a pretty good defeat with that keep mess.
Yeah.
And so he says, let's strike them while they're in disarray. So they do. They send basically like ninjas or assassins after them. So Conan, right at this moment, they're attacked, and because the conversation back in the civilized world, you want to call it civilized, is from the past, and by the time we get here, they're caught up. The ninjas arrive. They just barely avoid. Conan just barely avoids getting killed. Everybody gets into a fight as usual. They're surrounded. They're getting beat up pretty good, and all of a sudden, how much here should I tell? I don't want to.
You don't give away the whole ending.
I don't want to give away the whole ending, but something cool happens.
Yeah.
And it gets very interesting here, and so I don't want to say any more. So I didn't give away really too much. We know something's got to happen, and what it is that the local prince has got to get Conan's head, but he doesn't know about Conan. He just wants to get rid of the Cossacks. So he's sent a new team out to get him.
That's going to be a fun message when he finds out Conan's there.
Yeah.
Who? Well, let's just tell him we lost him and couldn't find him.
But it's typical. It's great. It's great Conan stuff again. There's a lot of elements of everything we've had so far. I don't want to give away too much here because I don't want to tell you what comes into the story. There's a kind of a surprising left turn that's taken towards the end of this comic. So I really like it. It's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And I was kind of surprised. I was kind of wondering how they were going to wrap this particular issue up. And it opens up a whole new storyline. So, cool. Again, we're into a new storyline. And something I saw online, which I made Tom run out and get me, was the new D&D Dungeons & Dragons issue number 1, Frost Giants Fury. And it's written by, I got the names here, Zub and Diaz. I hope I'm saying that. It might be Zub.
Jim Zub, I think.
Zub and Diaz. And we have
he's good.
Series of, it's a little adventure party.
A little
adventure party.
Yep, Jim Zub. Great stuff.
We're looking at the comic right now. We'll put the picture of it or a link to it online, so you can pick it up if you want.
They have little introduction cards and everything.
It's really cool.
It's
you
awesome.
open up the comic, and this is their third adventure for this little group, and they introduce
the party.
each member. Yeah, the party. Good heavens! And I'm an old D&D player. I'm saying the wrong things here. And the party is on their third adventure. They just escaped the vampires, and they went to oh good heavens, I'm having a mind blank here. But long story short, they had an adventure near Legend of Baldur's Gate, and then they went through Shadows of the Vampire miniseries, which is going to be cool. I want to actually go back and get that illustrated novel and see what it's like, which is a collection of all the previous comics.
Yeah.
And now to get out of there, they got a little talisman in it, and it transported them to the top of the mountains in the spine of the world. Bad place to be when you're not prepared for winter.
Yeah, that would
travel.
suck.
So of course they got a very badly injured member who is the cleric.
Oh, good.
Oops, big mess. And
well, he's the cleric. He'll heal himself.
Everybody's a mess. They wind up in the middle of a raging snowstorm on top of a mountain, and of course, you know what's up there. Lots of nasties, and they accidentally find shelter. But that's only the beginning of their problems, and I won't go too far into it. But
I can guess what's in the shelter with them.
Typical D&D, and I'm kind of laughing because anytime you find shelter that looks like a cave in D&D,
Get out.
What was the Lord of the Rings? Oh, here's a little cave we can stay in. Oh, no, it was the Hobbit. The Hobbit.
Yeah.
When they went to the Misty Mountains, and we'll just park ourselves in this cave here. And it was the goblin's front door. Love it. And that's the way Tolkien put it. I think he said it was the front door. And they're like, who's on our doorstep? My God, they just dropped themselves on our doorstep. So at any rate, it's a great little issue. It's typical D&D. If you like playing D&D, if you do any D&D at all, you'll love this issue.
They better not let that cleric die or they're screwed.
Well, it's straight out of D&D, man. It's great stuff. And if the cleric goes, you're toast. So there's going to be, I'm not giving anything away. There's going to be some other creatures in here and some pretty good monsters, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This is issue number 1. Art's beautiful. Story's exciting. High action. Lots of movement. Great stuff. So we got those two done. And I also am back onto Star Power. I've been reading that all along. Star Power took a break. By the way, Star Power is an online comic you can go read for free if you want, or you can support him. You can send him a few bucks. If you have couple extra bucks to spare, do send it to them. They're a great comic, beautiful art. I'll have a link up to it at the end of this, pardon me, at the bottom of this video. And you can click on it and take a look at the comic for yourself. They took off a couple weeks to just to get caught up. And they had some really funny stuff. While they took some time off, they put some funny things up. The Star Power people, on the side, they have a little joke where everybody in the region is hooked on this show called Sci-Cop, and it's this awful like Harlequin romance adventure mix that they all love, and it's really stupid, and it's kind of a joke. They took a short break. They put up a menu of hilarious show titles on what's called FedFlix, the Millennium Federation movie database, watched by the occupants of the Star Powers worlds.
Wonder where they got the idea for that.
Oh, it's hysterical. And the titles are to die for. So if you get a chance, go online and look at these titles. They're really, really funny. Especially the episodes of the ridiculous Sci-Cop where everybody watches. And the titles are like, like the Zorgars, attack this, and will King Dufaloo be able to stop the Zorgars from reaching? That's like one of the shows you can watch, and it's just funny stuff. In the meantime, we learned the mysterious Agent Polgar, the psychologist who befriended Danica, tested her to see if she had the mettle to travel alongside the also mysterious Traveler, who's coming to the worlds beyond the Millennium Federation, because this whole thing takes place within the Millennium Federation. They kind of the protectorates of the whole area. But outside of them is a little bit of chaos, we learn. Apparently these worlds' populations are in trouble and they need the Star Power's help. Of course, Danica is the Star Power, the last one. Danica's friends are more than sad as her journey, normally instantaneous from star to star, will now take a long time, because when this Traveler arrives, she can only go with the speed of the Traveler. Now, Danica can go to any star she wants just by looking at it instantaneously. So everybody's really bummed out, because they're like, wait a minute, if you got to go with the Traveler, this is going to be real time, so you're going to be gone for years. So I'm guessing that what's going to happen here is they're going to find out, Danica's going to say, wait a minute, you just go with me and we'll do this. I can't imagine her going away from years, because they'd have to ruin the whole comic, but we'll see. So that's as far as we have gotten. Sorry, fumble mouth here. And not a whole lot got done just because they took some time off, which is cool. So I'm gradually, now we're all caught up again, but it gave me some time to get caught up on the other comics. And I'm reading some other stuff too. I apologize. I know I've said the last 3 or 4 podcasts that I'd be caught up, but I'm reading so many things at once, I can't get it all done at the same time. So I expect to actually have I have 2 more of them done by next week, 2 big novels. And Tom knows what one of them is. He's really excited. And so that's my contribution for comics. I think I've got D&D comic, Conan comic. Yeah, that's it for me for comics. What are you getting into next?
I'll start off with TV next.
TV.
Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow are back after the mid-season hiatus. Thank God. I didn't realize how much I missed these shows until they went off the air.
Flash is great, isn't it?
Oh, it's funny because actually this is going to be a bit of a shocker here. Of all 3 episodes from the return week, Flash was probably the one I enjoyed the least.
Really?
And it wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't like, oh God, or anything. It was just, everything else was better. So I'll start off, I'll just go in the order I watched them. I start off with Legends of Tomorrow, which was far and away the best of the 3, and actually might be my favorite show of all the DC stuff I'm watching right now. Now, it might have knocked Flash off the pedestal. But the Flash episode, the Legends of Tomorrow episode, takes us to the 1960s, 1967 to be precise.
Oh God, the 60s.
Yeah, and
it's always the 60s.
Yeah, they're finally addressing Rip. We got a teaser of him at the end of the mid-season finale.
Okay,
and now we're gonna go see what happened to him. The episode kicks off with Rip in the Wave Rider right as the nuke is about to hit it from the first episode, and that was the big thing. Is okay, he scattered everybody else through time, and they eventually found each other. But what did he do to himself? He just kind of disappeared. And they addressed that, how he got off the ship and why he is where he is and what, happened to him. And because he doesn't think he's Rip anymore. He thinks he's a completely other guy. He's a film student working with George Lucas.
George Lucas. Yeah, that's right. He's in here, isn't he?
Yes, he is. George Lucas is his prop master on his thesis film. And
how is he in here?
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Is he good?
Oh, this was the most chock full of not only Star Wars just movie references in general. And they did a great job of blending the humor of the whole absurdity of the situation with the drama of their friend is, lost his memory. They need to get him back and save him from the Legion of Doom. The big plot point here is Lucas and Rip get caught in the middle of a firefight between the Legion of Doom and the Legends.
Okay.
Lucas says, I don't know what's going on here. I'm done. And he leaves film school. And so, consequently, he never creates anything. He doesn't do Star Wars. He doesn't do anything.
They've ruined the time.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, like, that's a future I'm not growing up in.
You've just destroyed science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah. And it's great because earlier in the episode, and I had a feeling this was going to be important, Ray mentions he became a scientist because of Star Wars, because of all these gadgets and inventions and awesome stuff. And Nate mentions he became a historian because of Indiana Jones.
Yep.
So Lucas doesn't create these franchises. So naturally,
their timeline
changes. Ray becomes a cardiac surgeon, and Nate becomes a yoga instructor.
Awesome.
And they become complete dum-dums who don't know what's going on. And so they find Lucas, and they're trying to convince him to go back to school.
Nothing against cardiac surgeons and yoga
instructors.
No,
they're very, but it's just funny.
Particular episode, we don't want to see cardiac surgeons and yoga instructors.
So they find Lucas, and they track him down, and they go with Sarah, who's not a Star Wars or Indiana Jones fan or anything. Awesome. Or no, not Sarah, I'm sorry. They go with Amaya. From the 40s, so she doesn't even know what any of this stuff is. And they're basically trying to convince George to stay in school.
That's great.
And finally, they're like telling him all this stuff about all the... And he's just looking at them like they're insane. Because he's like, time travel is impossible. Obviously, I haven't created any of these things. What are you talking about?
And finally... He hasn't even made THX 1.
He hasn't made anything yet.
Oh my god.
And finally, Nate just looks at him and he goes, stay in school! You stay in school!
I wonder if they'll have him make THX 1135.
Yeah. But, aside from the hilariousness of George Lucas being involved, we do get some new interaction or some new revelations regarding Rip.
Okay.
The Legion gets to flex their, villainy muscles here as we finally, I don't think we've seen all three of them so far in a battle together at this point. We have Malcolm Merlin, Damien Darhk, and Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash. And Malcolm Merlin and Damien Darhk play really well off each other.
Cool.
We kind of got flashes of that in Arrow Season 4, but Malcolm was kind of playing the subservient toady kind of guy. Okay. And this time they're pretty much partners. So now they really get their banter with one another is really good. And it really is making me Jones for when Wentworth Miller's going to get back in here as Captain Cold. And this was just a perfect episode to come back on. I was blown away by how good it was. And, like I said, I think it's kind of starting to knock Flash off the pedals there. This might be my new favorite DC show.
That's great to hear, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Flash is awesome, too.
Oh, no, it's not like, Flash is so last year. No, I still love Flash. But, so next up, I watched Arrow. And like I said, Arrow has really pulled out of that nosedive it was in.
Yep.
And this episode continues that trend. It was another really solid episode. We pick right up after... the accidental death of a certain character. I don't want to give it away in case you haven't been watching the season. But it seems like every time Oliver starts to get, optimistic and hopeful that he can do this, something awful happens, and it just kind of sends him back into another spiral of, oh, God, I can't do anything right.
My life sucks.
Yeah.
Being a billionaire superhero sucks. No, being a gorgeous billionaire superhero sucks.
Right. But the episode ended... The mid-season finale ended with Laurel Lance suddenly being back from the dead. And
I saw her pop in again on Twitter. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah. And I immediately jumped to what turned out to be happening, but it was still a fun thing to watch happen. So we get really the big initial shock of, Laurel being she's around and oh my God, she's alive, and them trying to deal with that. But it quickly dovetails into this is all part of Prometheus' plan to get back at Oliver again. And I had a weird moment watching Prometheus as he started talking. They haven't confirmed anything via who is voicing Prometheus. I'm fairly certain it's Michael Dorn who was Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Really?
I was listening to him talk to Laurel, and the way he was saying certain words, I'm like, I've heard this guy before.
No,
he's not in the credits. No, he's not. No.
Clever.
And so I was like, who is this voice? And I'm like, oh my God, it's Michael Dorn.
Yeah.
It's Worf. They haven't confirmed it, so I could be completely wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's Michael Dorn. So that's just my fun, weird trivia note of the day.
Awesome.
And but it's quickly becoming apparent that Prometheus, again, has wheels within wheels of plans going for this. He's definitely, still got way more to come in terms of him putting Oliver through the ringer. And they in the mid-season finale, they kind of gave you a red herring as to who Prometheus is. He was the son of one of the guys Oliver killed on his list back in season 1.
Yeah, talking about that. Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't buy it. I think it's too easy. It's not a big enough reveal. It's like, oh, he's just the son of some random villain of the week who we didn't even know about.
You killed my dad, and here I am, one of the biggest characters going.
The more the season 5 goes on, the quicker it's becoming apparent, I think, that the guy under the mask has got to be Tommy Merlin. It's got to be Tommy Merlin, who died back in season 1 in the finale.
They're due for a Tommy return.
Yeah, the actor
Tommy
playing Tommy.
So emotional.
It was great.
Dramatic.
Big deal. The actor playing Tommy is a main cast member on Chicago Med right now.
Okay.
That's why he wasn't in the Arrow 100th episode. He planned to be. He wanted to be, but the scheduling conflict. He's a main cast member on another show.
Yep.
They used an image of him in it, but it wasn't anything new. No new footage. So I think the way Prometheus is set up right now, he's got the whole mask, he's got the voice changer, so they can have it be Tommy without having his face. So really, if they wanted to have it be Tommy, the guy could just fly in for an episode or two.
Yeah.
And at the end, and be Tommy. But really, the personal nature of these attacks on Oliver, him knowing about the list, him fighting like Oliver, knowing Oliver's tricks, a lot of Oliver's history. The soft spot he has for Laurel. Yeah. It's like everything is adding up to somebody who's known Oliver for a long time.
They don't bring in somebody new who, they knew about the list. And like, oh, come on. Because remember that way back in the beginning, they were kind of doing that like, oh, here's Bob. Oh, Bob knows about the list. Like, wait a minute. We didn't know Bob knew about the list. And,
so the more this season drags on, the more I think it's got to be Tommy.
That's
and
cool.
I've been begging for Tommy to get back in the show for a long time. I thought killing him off was not a mistake, but I thought, maybe Flashpoint, when Barry rewrote time or something like that, would have some weird ramifications, but it doesn't look that way. But remember back in season 3, because that was Roz, when they wanted to use the Lazarus Pit on Thea to heal her.
Okay.
And Malcolm was like, oh, no, bad idea. Lazarus Pits, when you put somebody in there, they come out wrong.
It was Pet Cemetery.
Right? Yeah. And you're like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
How would you have any evidence of that? And maybe maybe Malcolm, in his grief at Tommy's death, threw Tommy in the Lazarus Pit, and Tommy came out pretty wrong.
Oh, it's odd that they would wait so many seasons or so long
here's the thing.
To drop that bomb. They could just go do a flashback.
Here's the thing. Malcolm said people come out wrong from that. Yeah. So maybe after seeing what Tommy turned into, he locked him away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that because that was a long time ago in the series.
Oliver hits Prometheus with a tranq dart in their fight.
Yep.
And Prometheus rips it out and says, you might say I've built up a tolerance. So maybe Malcolm was keeping Tommy under lock and key somewhere, and now he's finally escaped. And Malcolm would have no idea because Malcolm's off doing his thing, hopping through time.
Okay, so there's another clue.
Yeah.
So we do have clues coming.
Yeah.
I think you're on it.
I think it's got to be Tommy Merlin.
Yeah.
But even if it is Tommy, which I think it will be, it's not like that reveal is going to be any diminished by that point, because we might have figured it out, but Oliver has no clue coming, and that's going to be one heck of a gut punch when he realizes his former best friend is out to kill him.
Oliver, Tommy, and Laurel mess triangle will start up all over again.
Well, it won't start up all over again. Well,
it'll be there. It'll be there.
Yeah, it's a whole unresolved thing.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And but I think that's where it's going. Mm-hmm. And now on to Flash, which is the last one I watched this week. Flash picks up about a month after the mid-season finale, timeline-wise.
Okay.
Barry has not told anybody what he saw when he accidentally went to the future. He's been trying to keep it under, burying it deep and trying to work through what he saw, and it's not going so well. Iris knows something's wrong with him. He's being snippy with people, because, Barry's usually the most lovable guy in the room. Wally is shadowing him now as Kid Flash.
He's the most wonderful until he changes the timeline.
Yeah, until
every
he
other week,
screws up everything.
Snippy. Barry, you're in a bad mood. Did you change the timeline again?
And Wally's shadowing him.
Yep.
Training with his new powers. And it's fun to get out there and really see Wally out there running around with another Flash on the scene.
Flash. And you don't mind the extra speedster.
Well, it's funny because
speedster.
With Wally, I don't, because there's been
but he's been in the comics forever.
This version of Wally.
In one form or another. Yeah. Flash.
Kid Flash, I don't mind because he's not the Ventlin.
Right.
It's not like it's like another evil speedster. Barry has sidekicks from time to time who are just Kid Flashes or whatever. So no, I don't mind Wally being out there. I actually really enjoy him and Barry's kind of back and forth. And So Barry finally has to tell Iris what's going on, what he saw in the future with Savitar killing her.
Yep.
And he finally comes clean, and they decide that there's got to be a way to change it. Because unlike the past, which Barry has an history running, the future isn't set in stone. And he's like trying to figure it out. He's going to everybody. He's like, "What do you think? Is the future changeable, or every time I try to change it, I'm really just heading right towards it?" And he's going crazy.
Right.
And they do find evidence that they can change the future. So Barry writes down everything he remembers from his trip to the future. He saw headlines on the news and stuff, and he says, "We're going to work to change these, and if we change these, the future will change, so Iris won't die."
What a mess.
So now we've got a nice little thing to go through for the back half of season 3.
Right.
So it's not, just Savitar being missing and then having to deal with that. Caitlin's got her own little storyline kind of going here, too.
She was getting to be pretty nasty towards the end of there.
Now she doesn't want to just deal with her powers. She wants to get rid of them completely.
Okay.
Cure herself. And so she goes and is looking for a way to do that. Cisco and HR are kind of butting over heads over reopening Star Labs as a museum to, just science and Star Labs history in general. So it was a nice week. Everybody got something to do. Nobody kind of got shuffled off to the sidelines. But it didn't really have a huge kind of impact kind of thing that Arrow and Legends had. And it was a good episode. It was solid. There was some good. They moved the plots forward. There was a good, progression, but it just didn't really jump out at me.
So they took the week to get things ready for the big action scenes that are coming, because there's going to have to be a lot of action from this. It's not like it was much of an action one, more of a storyline. Like, how are we going to break the news to Iris that Iris is dead, and she doesn't know it yet? Yeah. Oops.
And it's not even like it's like 3 or 4 years. It's like 5 months.
Reading the Twitter feed on all the Flash fans this week was showing me that they were following that. That was the big thing of this one. It was, will Barry tell Iris? And if Barry did tell Iris, and that got all the fans excited. So this one was really, like you said, it wasn't a massive action episode or anything, but it was a key episode in the fact that now he's revealed this. They have to change the storyline, which opens a whole new can of worms for exciting adventures and all that kind of stuff. And by changing the future, they're going to screw it up again. They got it.
Well, not really, because the future isn't set.
Well, technically, but I don't know. We'll see. It's
but,
Barry Allen. Don't let him touch
Barry will find some way to...
Barry, don't touch the future.
But that's all for the DC stuff. Cool. But in other TV news, Legion is coming out soon, the X-Men series about Charles Xavier's son, who's completely off his rocker. Now, it'll be interesting to see how far into him being completely off his rocker they go. Because Legion's whole shtick is he's got multiple personality disorder, and each personality has a different power. His base personality, David, is a telepath like his father.
Yep.
But he's got pyrokinesis, telekinesis, he can do crazy crap. But the downside is, like I said, he's completely off his rocker.
Yeah.
And some of his personalities are benign, and other personalities are homicidal lunatics. And so, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how, if they go with that route, or if they just kind of go with him being a little cuckoo, because he's in a mental institution in the trailer. But I am really looking forward to it. That reveal trailer was fantastic. Right. It was just perfect. It got me totally hooked and into it, and I can't wait. It comes out next month, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the other big news, TV-wise, also turns out to be X-Men related. Bryan Singer, who directed the first, second Days of Future Past and X-Men Apocalypse, is going to be directing a new X-Men pilot. It hasn't been titled yet, but basically it's going to be a family. And they're living in, they haven't said where, but it's a government that is very opposed to the existence of mutants. And they
always are.
They have, yeah. I mean, think about it, really. You
can't stop them if they go bad.
But so this government, like I said, they haven't said where it's set, but they're super, like, I get the feeling maybe even execute mutants on sight kind of deal. And the family has to flee when the parents realize the kids are mutants.
Yep.
So it's them on the run from the government trying to keep their kids safe. And Bryan Singer is directing the pilot episode. He's not going to be in the whole series, but that's interesting. I think that could be another fun one, because it's a new spin on the thing. We're so used to the X-Men fighting these giant battles against the Sentinels, Magneto, or whatever. This sounds like a more intimate family drama setting that happens to have mutant powers within it, and I think that could be a nice kind of twist on the
Awesome.
genre instead of just big explosions going
Right.
kaboom all the time.
And you can see them doing this with the comics too. When they did another storyline with the X-Men, and now we're just going to go to the simple family on the run.
Yeah, X-Men has done that plenty of times
Yeah.
before, where it's really more character-focused drama than big booms. And some of the best storylines are like that. Old Man Logan had some of its most powerful moments, the graphic novel, in the moments where it's just Wolverine reflecting on everything that led him, the decades of of being a hero that led him up to this point.
I'm thinking of that scene from the trailer where he's got the comic book.
Oh yeah.
If you
See, we got an X-Men fan.
No, X-Men fan. And I'll tell you, most of this stuff didn't happen.
Which kind of
awesome.
true, actually, now that
Awesome.
Secret Wars happened. But I think that'll be fun and exciting. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I've been one since the 90s because of that cartoon show that was
absolutely.
on forever.
Yeah.
Another bit of of TV news. Samurai Jack makes its return in March.
Yep.
I never thought I would say that sentence because Gendy Tartakovsky is the world's biggest liar when it comes to this. Samurai Jack was a phenomenal show. I believe it's on Netflix. I know at least the first season is.
Yep.
Basic premise of the show is it's set in ancient feudal Japan initially. A demon, Aku, rises and begins laying waste to the land. A young samurai boy is spirited away from the destruction, grows up to become a warrior, and finds his father's sword, which is said to possess qualities that'll kill a demon. He fights Aku, gets him down, and right before he delivers the final killing blow, Aku chucks him into the future. Thousands and thousands of years. And in his absence, without anything that can kill him, Aku has dominated the planet. So now, and it's not just Earth, he's, this is thousands of years in the future, he's taken over alien planets.
Awesome.
There's all these aliens everywhere. And the thing is, Samurai Jack is trying to find a way back home and finish Aku before this happens and prevent all this evil from becoming real.
Changing the timeline.
And it was 4 seasons long. Fantastic show. The art was gorgeous. The storylines were great. The alien designs were awesome. Everything about this show was fantastic. And then they ended it in the 4th season, and Gendy Tartakovsky went off to go work on other stuff, like that Clone Wars series we watch. He worked on that. He did a whole bunch of other stuff. And he kept saying, oh yeah, I'll definitely finish it. I love Samurai Jack. I'll get back to it and finish it. And every 3 or 4 years he'd say that, and then he would do nothing.
Yeah.
And it would kill me because I just wanted an ending. And then a comic series by IDW basically served the purpose of being a 5th season, and it was fantastic. And if you haven't read it, go out and check it out because it's fantastic. But finally, after all these years, he's coming back.
Here he comes.
He's doing it again.
Lots of
it's
news
been
on that the other day.
over 10 years
Yeah.
since Samurai Jack was on the air. And we got the first teaser image a while ago of a bloody Samurai Jack. He's got scars all over him. He's holding the sword. His hair is a mess. And the cool thing is this one's going to be on Adult Swim.
Yep.
So this one's going to be a bit more adult-oriented than the previous. Samurai Jack was a kid's cartoon. But, it was definitely something adults could watch, too, because it was fantastic.
Right.
But it's fitting, seeing as how probably most of the fans are now my age. They're in their early 20s to mid-20s.
Yeah.
So
What has it been? 10, 15
10,
years?
15, yeah, I don't know, 15 maybe not,
A while.
but at least over 10.
Yeah.
And so most of the fans are probably my age, like mid to early 20s. So they might not want to sit. Like I said, I still enjoy the original Samurai Jack cartoon, but they might want something with a little more edge to it. And that looks like that's definitely what we're getting here. So March 11th, I believe, is the date that Samurai Jack is coming back, and
Here's hoping he can
can't
pull his
wait.
Yeah, here's hoping he can pull his audience back too, because a lot of them have grown up and gone off to whatever, being neurosurgeons or
Well, it's the same.
yoga
It's like with
instructors or
Star
whatever.
Wars
They're
when
not interested.
when Episode 1 was coming out. It had been over a decade since the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone had all this anticipation. It's gonna be so good, and then we got the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah. So hopefully we don't get that with Samurai Jack.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I can't wait. I really
tremendous amount of hype on this. Online.
tremendous amount of hype. I told my friend Brandon, if you ever listen to this, I told Brandon Samurai Jack was coming back. He lost his mind.
Right.
It was so good. This thing is going to be fantastic.
Awesome.
I can't wait. And my last bit of TV news I have is I just recently watched season 2 of Voltron: Legendary Defender.
Cool.
Voltron, for those of you who may not have been familiar with his original incarnation, was around forever ago. I don't even know, 60s, 70s, maybe not, early 80s. but it was a Japanese cartoon about these 5 people who get drawn into this alien world, and they find these 5 lion robots, and when all 5 lion robots combine, they form Voltron. And they defend the galaxy. Yeah. And I loved it. I had the whole Voltron lion toys. I had everything. I loved it. And then it ended, and there was like a weird CGI reboot that I didn't like quite as much because it was eh. But Netflix announced they were going to make a Voltron show, and I said, oh, it's I'll watch at least first couple episodes because it's on Netflix. I got that already, no harm. And I was blown away by how good it was.
There we go again with Netflix.
Yeah, knocked it right out of the park. They changed a lot of the story. They kind of gave it their own spin and updated it, but it works beautifully.
So they rebooted it.
They rebooted it. Okay. Yeah, it's completely new continuity.
I was thinking they were going to whole.
No. Yeah, they rebooted it. It's a whole new continuity, and it was fantastic. It's when a lot of shows try to blend humor with serious drama and action, and some shows do it pretty well. Flash does it pretty well, but not a lot really pull off that. It's a tightrope. You don't want to get too hammy or too gloomy and dark. And Voltron really walked that tightrope without missing a beat. It was hilarious. It was dramatic, intense. It had, everything. And they really did a lot of things right. They didn't bog it down with any unnecessary plot points. They didn't have stuff that felt just kind of shoehorned in there because they felt, we need to have this in here. Like, there was no romance.
Right.
There was no... Like, romance stories either really help a show move along or they drag them down like anchors. Yeah. If you get one like Barry and Iris, which is a really big point of Flash, and it works. Yeah. Barry and Iris is fine. But then you get stuff like Olicity from Arrow, and people either thought that was the greatest couple in the world.
Or Anakin and Padme.
Or it's the dumbest thing ever. And Voltron, I think, decided to wisely skip that by not even doing it. Yeah. They just said, we're not going to take the chance. We're going to keep it a lean, mean 13-episode season. Go with it.
Your observation about a romance in a movie should be talked about for a moment here, because it is a thing I caught way back on I think it was Attack of the Clones, and they were really trying to push the Anakin Padme romance at that point, and it was a disaster. It was the most wooden, lunky, leaden, awful.
They had no chemistry,
but at the same time, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, you had Peter Parker and Mary Jane's romance with the upside down Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was O2.
And that that's one of the most biggest, in sci-fi or fantasy.
That worked. Spider-Man's romance nailed it.
That scene was a big deal. And then, of course, that romance was hot, and it was up against, I think it came out right about the same exact time as Star Wars. And it hit it out of the park, and the young girls were going crazy for it. And of course, it was a great romance.
Yeah. Romance,
and
either
in the
really
end,
works or doesn't.
What happened? They build it, and all of a sudden she realizes at the end who it is. And it's just incredible. It's a fantastic romance, which is the exact opposite of the way Star Wars was done, which really killed that movie. Because that movie was supposed to hinge on the fact these two were going to get together, blah, blah, blah. And you were like, boring, on top of 19 other things that went wrong. But if you're going to do a romance, you've got to do a romance right. You got to hit your target audience, and they got to really go for the romance. The Barry and Iris romance is a huge deal, and they've been able to do that for how many seasons? 3 seasons. Yeah. The girls are crazy for Barry and Iris romance, and not because Barry's a good-looking guy, and the girls love him, and he's got that age group going crazy for him, and then Iris is cute, and it's just a cute romance. Yep. And they're always squabbling with each other, which helps the romance too. So anyway, I just had to throw that in there. The romance.
So Voltron, like I said, steps these plot points and goes, like I said, lean, mean, 13 episodes. Nothing really feels like filler. Even when they do a filler episode, it doesn't feel like, okay, they're just stalling till the end of the season. I hate shows that have episodes like that. Where
drag it out.
It's like, this episode, if you cut this out and splice the next two together, it wouldn't hurt it. Yeah. But the Voltron has no episodes like that. So season 1 was basically them trying to figure out how to be Voltron. Mm-hmm. None of them had ever done anything like this before. They had to work as a team, get together. And the big final battle, some dramatic revelations came about. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. But season 2 was them figuring out how to deal with this and really hit Zarkon, the main villain, head on and take this fight to him. And it was funny because I watched the whole season in like 2 days. And I was like, it's over? But it was great. Like I said, there was this season round. It was no filler, no unnecessary stuff. really great character moments. This cast really feels fleshed out.
Cool.
Everybody kind of rotates in and out of prominent stuff, so it's never like Lance, for instance, never feels like he's just been shoveled off to the side, and it's, everyone kind of comes in and out with important stuff going on. And they finished up the season with a cliffhanger, just like they did season 1.
Cool.
And they clearly set this up for a season 3. They haven't announced season 3's official yet, but I would be shocked if they didn't because of how critically well received the show has been.
It should be hot. I've seen a lot of Voltron online,
Twitter, I went
Instagram.
to Target today, you know why, and I was walking through the toy aisle, and all the Voltron stuff, except for like 2 things, was gone. Sold out.
You can tell a lot by that, and that's another interesting thing you can do is go walking down to one of the big boxes and take a look around their toy aisle and just see what's missing.
Yep.
And say, okay, here's what's hot. Remember the Star Wars toys were not selling. I remember that was the thing. They sold briefly, and then they were not selling. And it was like,
what period?
Way back in Phantom Menace stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they sold, but they weren't,
not
like what they thought they
cakes.
were going to do. Not like the previous toys,
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're out to Voltron. You got a...
I think that's all.
This is a video game, number 11.
I got some video game stuff, though, yeah. On the video games, the big announcement, the one that I didn't see coming, was the Avengers game that got announced earlier this week. It's about only a minute-long trailer, and it's a woman doing a voiceover about heroes and villains and things like that, and you get brief flashes of Bruce Banner's glasses and a door ripped open. You kind of hear the Hulk. Then you see Cap's shield on the ground, one of Iron Man's gloves kind of broken, and Mjolnir laying there. And it ends with assemble, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then re comes in front of it, so it's reassemble.
Reassemble, yeah.
So it looks like something awful happened to the Avengers, and now a new batch of heroes has got to step up and become the next group of Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's by, I believe it's Square Enix is doing this.
Yes. Square Enix?
Square Enix, something like that. And they've done, the Deus Ex games, the Tomb Raider reboots, Thief that just came out. And
it was a big announcement by Marvel.
Yeah, apparently it's not just like a one-off. This is going to be a long-standing partnership between the two companies. And don't expect the game anytime soon. I think they're not going to announce anything new until 2018.
Yeah, it's a while down the road, but they're getting ready. They're all ready.
They're ramping it up.
And the way they did the promo was they told you the night before something big was coming. And so I was like kind of hanging on and you knew what time too. And exactly that second it came up on, here comes the video, here comes the breakout, and it was just crazy. I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. And especially if they're pushing it like this with an exact time, they want you to know. So get ready for, like you said, a really big video game.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think Marvel video games I enjoy a lot. Mm-hmm. I remember playing X-Men Legends a lot. Marvel Ultimate Alliance I tried for a little bit. More often than not, Marvel has really good stuff video game wise. The movie based games usually are just cash cow games that suck, but that's true for every company, not just Marvel. But I'm excited for this. I think this will be really cool. And the other bit of stuff I have 2 more, is Gears of War 4, game I still own. I love it. Just announced that you're going to be able to cross-play between PC and Xbox for the first time in for Gears history. And this is big. This is big. And not as big as you might think because it's Windows with Xbox, so it's 2 Microsoft-owned properties. Yeah. But still, that's a big deal. PC and Xbox being able to play together is a big deal. I have a lot of friends who only play PC games or only play, something on one console that I don't own. And it's always kind of like, well, I guess we can't play together.
Is that related to the Windows announcement that we put up about Windows 10 having something to do with video game?
Probably, because, this is Windows 10.
I wonder if that's going to be the same thing.
So this is a big announcement, and I really think crossplay is going to, when they finally get their heads out of their butts and decide to do this, will be the biggest thing ever. Yeah. Because I have Battlefield 1, and I have friends who have it on Xbox, and I have friends who have it on PlayStation. And it really annoys me that I can't, get together.
And also we've got a Battlefield player here who's
PC.
on PC, and you can't play with each other.
Like I said, when they finally get their heads out of their butts, and they just decide this is what's best for everybody, let's do it. Yep. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, but who's going to take the hit though?
Yeah, that's why they don't want to do it. Yeah, because it'll be huge for the gamers.
Billions of dollars are on the line.
Yeah, but the companies will suffer because you have stuff like Halo. Yep. Only on Xbox. Yeah. Then and it's not a big deal because it's only on Xbox. But if you have stuff, that's why they do this. Like,
But you got to go buy an Xbox to play
features
Halo, you know.
On PS, there's some games have
right.
exclusive things on each system,
and that's why they're exclusive.
Yeah. And the last bit of video game stuff I have is Tekken 7. It's finally looks like we're getting a release date. I believe it's June is coming out.
Cool.
I've been a lifelong Tekken fan. I can't even count the number of hours me and Trevor spent in his basement beating the snot out of each other on this game. I've been a franchise fan since the original game. I've been there for the highs of Tekken 5 and the lows of Tekken 6. But everything I've seen about Tekken 7 really looks like this is going to be a fantastic game. They haven't come flat out and said it's going to be the last Tekken game ever. They've said it's the end of the Mishima storyline. Okay. And the Mishimas are pretty much the central characters of Tekken. So if it's the end of the Mishima storyline, it kind of might follow logically that this is the end of Tekken, at least for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. But like I said, they haven't flat out said that yet. They keep announcing new characters and new stages, and Akuma from Street Fighter is randomly in this game, but he actually has a story tied into why he's here.
Okay.
We're finally getting some backstory on the Mishima family. Kazuya's mother is the main character of the trailer, and it really looks like this is they're going for broke on this one. It looks really good. I mean, Tekken games have always been stunningly beautiful. The graphics look fantastic.
Yep.
I think the gameplay is going to be solid as always, and I'm going to be kind of sad if this really is going to be the end for the franchise, but at the same time, it really looks like Namco is really going to blow the roof off with this one.
And that's it for video games, right?
Yep. I just have some movie stuff. I don't know if you got any movie things too.
I got nothing for movies. Not yet. I didn't get to a movie this week.
Well, one sad bit of movie news is John Hurt.
Yeah,
recently
John Hurt.
passed.
Wow. I did not know how many movies he's been in.
Everywhere.
He was all over the place.
Everywhere. He was in Doctor Who. He was in Alien. He was in Harry Potter. Yep. This guy was in everything.
Even the old time.
And it's funny because a lot of people, when they heard John Hurt died, a lot of the
Lord of the Rings.
They went to what?
Yeah. There's shots of him in Lord of the Rings, but I can't remember what he was. I had shots last night. Yeah, I looked it up.
But a lot of the people jumped to Harry Potter or his more recent stuff like Doctor Who, where
I'm
he's
gonna double check that while we're online.
But I remember him mostly as Kane from Alien, the first guy ever on screen history to get an alien ripped out of his stomach. It's one of the most horrific scenes ever you can imagine as a kid. You're like watching this, you're like, oh my god, what's going on?
Yep.
Alien comes ripping out.
Yeah, and I apologize. I said Lord of the Rings, the 70s animated version is what I meant to say. Sorry about that.
Gotcha.
So he was in that animated version. another thing he was in, you know.
Yeah, he's in everything.
Million
and
things.
The guy was fantastic. He was a tremendous actor, and he wasn't afraid to do genre stuff like Doctor Who and Alien and all these, you know, quote unquote really pop culture things that, you know, serious actors shouldn't do. But this guy was in everything. He loved it.
Do you remember the other movie he was in with the alien?
Oh, he was in the
Chestburster?
Oh yeah, he was in Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Yeah, the whole crew except for like Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, and he had the best line. He goes, "Not again." Yeah.
He was in so many movies.
He was fantastic.
I was really surprised I didn't catch that before he died. I was like, then as soon as he died, I started looking around like, whoa, what a lot of stuff he did. What a great way to live.
Great actor. I love him in pretty much everything. And the last bit of movie news I have. I forgot a video game thing too, but I'll swing back to that. The last bit of movie news I have is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I'll still call him The Rock because I was a wrestling fan before he stopped wrestling. But I'll just go with Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson has been announced for a while now as going to be playing Black Adam in the Shazam movie. Mm-hmm. Black Adam he kind of walks that weird tightrope of sometimes he's a villain, sometimes he's a hero, but, you know, at least he has a moral compass. And he's going to be the antagonist. They've been very careful to phrase it like that. He's going to be the antagonist of the Shazam movie, not the villain. He's going to be the antagonist.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I figured, okay, he'll be in Shazam. It'll be awesome and whatever. But apparently now he's actually going to be in 2 movies. He's going to be in Shazam, and he's also going to be getting a solo Black Adam movie.
Wow.
Just for himself.
Okay.
Which is a big deal. Because Black Adam is one of those characters that, unless you're a comic fan, you're not really going to know. Even Shazam is one of the characters.
Shazam's not a front and center, and Black Adam's really not front and center.
Yeah. So this is, I think, like I said, all these DC and Marvel, they're going to the other ranks, the stuff that's lesser known, and they're kind of shoving it out there.
We like to say, deep into the bench.
Deep into the bench.
Yeah.
Their Guardians of the Galaxy was almost $1 billion movie, and it's like, who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I confess, even I at the time didn't even know.
I didn't know anything about them before.
But I think this is fun. I think this will be a really cool movie, because if it's a Black Adam movie, they could do a period piece in ancient Egypt. Because Black Adam is originally from ancient Egypt.
It's always ancient Egypt. Why is that so cool?
Because it's cool.
Everybody goes to ancient Egypt to finish stuff.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
They're awesome. Yeah.
It wouldn't even be Dwayne Johnson's first time. He was the Scorpion King. Forever ago in 2002 or no 2001.
Tom Cruise just got out of there with the Mummy. So.
Yeah, I mean, see, everybody goes. It's awesome.
The Grateful Dead played there. You know?
But I think it's a cool bit of news, and I think it'll be a fun movie when they finally get to it.
Awesome.
And the last bit of video game stuff I forgot to swing back to was the Pokemon Bank app is now live for Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Cool.
Basically, what it allows you to do is transfer Pokemon from previous games into your current one. So X and Y, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and even the digital retail or the digital eShop versions of Yellow, Blue, and Red.
Yep.
You can transfer Pokemon into. So you can have in Sun and Moon all your favorite Pokemon you've caught for all these past games. You can chuck them in there, so you have everything you've ever wanted Pokemon-wise. And I know that's
cool.
Huge. I'm probably gonna do it later today and get them all in there.
That should reboot the whole game series all over again.
It's a good way of keeping it fresh. And they were smart. They didn't do it. The Pokemon Sun and Moon came out in November, and this didn't go live until just, I think, yesterday.
Okay.
So they wanted everybody to get a solid 2 months in just playing Sun and Moon, and then they're gonna barrel roll into all this stuff.
Odd they didn't pick up a big day release for that, because they didn't when they did the Pokemon the one over the summer, because it was just you were doing your. I was on vacation.
Oh,
and all of
Pokemon
a sudden,
Go.
Yeah, Pokemon. Yeah. Sorry, Pokemon Go. And I was on vacation down by the beach, and all of a sudden it just exploded, and everybody on the boardwalk was playing. It really was. I'm not kidding. It was amazing. And I said this way back in an earlier podcast. It was like watching Americana unfold. Like a thing in America is like. Do you remember when Pokemon Go happened? Yeah, I do. And I always will, because I was like leaning against the store in the boardwalk, which was packed with people, and about every other person, or actually more than that, about 8 out of 10 were running up and down the street. It was a lot more than every other, playing Pokemon Go. And it was this big thing. I was like, even the adults are running around with all these phones. And nobody was looking up. They all chasing each other around and having a good time and cracking jokes. It was a lot of fun. And so I hope that it has that much fun again. I don't know what it's going to be like in the winter. Can you run around outside with this thing like that?
It's going to die off for that, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe they should have waited till spring again, but I don't know how much time they would have had before they would have lost their audience. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. And I just wanted to comment on that because it was so cool. And when you were down there watching all these people running up and down the road and the street and the boardwalk and in and out of stores catching Pokemons, and everybody was joking that like they kept catching Rattatas everywhere, and I need a new Pokemon.
Oh my god, any Pokemon player will tell you the early roots are the bane of your existence. It's Pidgey, Rattata, and Caterpie.
Yeah,
that's
Caterpie.
all you'll run into.
Well, I was near the ocean, so I was picking up some water Pokemon.
I actually think that was cool, that geographically wise, water brings out water Pokemon.
Yeah. And coming home, you'd stop at rest stops, and they'd have some Pokemon there, but I don't remember if they were different or not. I don't think they were. And then we went up that weekend. We went up to the university near us.
OCC.
And the college had Pokemon all over the place, so that was kind of cool. There was a convention, and at the same time, people were running around the campus, picking up Pokemon, so that was kind of cool. They had different ones up there. Anyway, all that aside, we got the merge now. It looks like it's going to be cool. And we'll see if it makes it till spring. I don't know. But you can't go outside with it, so that's kind of a bummer. So, at least not in the northern hemisphere.
All you people in California are like, what are you talking about?
Well, California's getting creamed right now from weather, from what I understand. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Are you all set with news?
I'm tapped for everything at this point.
We'll wrap it up. I got just a couple little show notes I want to tell you about here. We have reached... Thank you, everybody, following us on Twitter. Twitter 2000 today.
Woo!
We just reached the plateau. So Twitter 2000.
Jump on the bandwagon.
Really exciting. Really exciting that it's watching everything in the Sci-Clops world has been trending up. Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. Pinterest not so much. Pinterest is quiet. If you're on Pinterest, come on over and visit us. But definitely Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the podcast, the website.
We're on iTunes now.
Now we're on iTunes. That was another thing we're going to about. We just got on iTunes. If you go to iTunes right now, or the next few days, you might not see the image we have, the usual Sci-Clops image. You'll see the podcast, and if you have a smartphone with the iTunes on it, or the
so you don't even have that. If you have an Apple smartphone, just go to the podcast app. Search for Sci-Clops.
Yeah. Just do a search for Sci-Clops, and now on mine, I just go to the iTunes store, and I can do a search for Sci-Clops there. So there's a bunch of ways you can get it, and it's all free, and you can download it quick. You might not see the image when you go there, but when you download it, the image will appear, if you care. So right now, we just got the standard gray and white and black image, the little microphone or whatever the heck it is. But it's coming through. I think it just takes a few days to upload or whatever. I don't know what the problem is. I'm getting on it. And the other show note was we have the Twitter 2000, we have the pod. Please do support us. We are, it really helps us a lot. Oh yeah, here's another piece of news. We just thought about this. We are big fans of the Voracious comic, and I'm going to mark that down. Marcus on Naso and Jason Muir are putting out Voracious number 5, which will be released on February 1st. I think it's available for order then.
Yes, first.
And so we're really pumped about this because the art is beautiful, and yours truly is on the cover too. So we're kind of bragging a little bit, but that's not
why. Published.
We like the comic. We love the comic, and it's just a beautiful comic. It's really well done.
People eating dinosaurs. What's not to like about that?
Yeah, it's dinosaurs, time travel, and lasers. And oh my God, this is fantastic. And I love the art on that. The colors remind me of the 70s. I don't know why, 70s and 80s mix of colors that are really, really cool. And there's been some. I've even written him a couple times. Marcus and I we were texting back and forth. I said, you got to get me this frame in a giant poster, a wall poster, because I was showing him the frame. I go, this is gorgeous. This one particular frame. Yeah. I got to have this in a great big poster. So I'm trying to find a way to get that thing and expand into a poster so I can put it in the Sci-Clops boardroom.
Penthouse.
And, penthouse.
Jacuzzi room.
The boardroom in the penthouse. Okay. So anyway, on the 75th floor, overlooking the something, I don't know, the ocean or the city, whichever way you decide to look. Yeah, I mean, this way is
East
the ocean.
is the city, west is the ocean. Take your pick.
So, well, I think that's it for the podcast. We will see you very shortly, and we'll have a lot of more stuff coming. We got a lot of movies, books are coming down there, and we're comics, all kinds of exciting stuff coming up. I've got a list here that I just can't get through fast enough. I'm reading as fast as I can, and I just can't finish.
Take the speed, read more.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm reading and reading and reading. So I'm going to be hitting you with all kinds of books at the same time. But in the meantime, have a great week. Keep the geek. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.